took a skinny, you might have a lot of your trip right. Take a deep breath.
For a few minutes. And Debbie?
And we have a board member, Jurgen, is here today. Staff member, Laura, and one of our ambassadors is here today, Ellen Contreras. So I just wanted you all to recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you. Jurgen.
Yes, thank you very much for coming. As you know, we've been Vero Beach a long time, for about 28 years, in about 3 months.
I hear you.
Yes.
I hear
A little
you.
louder,
A little louder. Louder?
Yes.
You have a microphone? No microphone, right? Anyway, Jurgen with ACT Computers. We've been in business for like 28 years now, almost. In 3 months we have our anniversary. And today we are going to be talking about AI, artificial intelligence. You probably are getting a little tired of it in the news. I am, because I see it everywhere. And some people talk about it as being bad, some talk about it being good. And so we just want to show you what we see as professionals. We're actually one of the early people to test things out, to see how these systems work and how it can interact with you personally in your business. And I have my technician Cameron here, Cameron Coppolietta, and our youngster here, Michael. He's very talented. He's our social media specialist and YouTuber and everything else. So what is AI? Artificial intelligence, right? So basically, I'll show you guys on this lovely, actually Chromecast giveaway. Chromecast in the house too. Good shout out to them. So that's a little brain here. So AI basically means artificial brain, okay? Artificial intelligence. So this has been going on, this development, probably for the last 60, 70 years. It's nothing new. Okay? It's just that there were so many different paths to achieving what we have right now that nobody really knew which path to take. It's just like anything in discovery, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. So right now, currently, the models work with they call it the language models, learning language models, which basically means it's like a copy of a brain, basically. It's a synthesized copy of brain functions. So, and because nowadays we have computers that are so fast, we don't just talk about computers we build, but big ones and data centers, the processing speed has advanced so much that the way the system can process is so much more efficient. 25 or 30 years ago, they thought about this idea and they couldn't do it because computers were just too slow. They couldn't handle it. So nowadays, machines are way faster than any human can think, and the system is processing very, very quickly. So it is artificial. It means it's just a fake thing. It's really just a program that's designed to mimic a human being. But this time we were really surprised on how powerful these systems are. I mean, who's using Siri here and Google? Hands up, anybody? I mean, we're all living now with our assistants, right? I go home and turn my lights on and say, hey Google, turn my lights on. Okay? And sometimes it says I don't understand you because it has an accent. But most of the time it doesn't work. Now, so we've already been using this type of stuff for a long time. I mean, Siri has been out for, I think, 10 years now, maybe more than that. It's just getting smarter and smarter behind the scenes, and we don't realize that. So this introduction to AI system is going to be seamless, where basically things just get more and more responsive to you, so you can actually have a conversation with your phone, believe it or not, and you don't have to speak like a robot to your phone to make it understand something. That's the whole idea about AI systems, that you'll be able to communicate much more easily like you're talking to a human being and actually will understand and actually can reason with you. And that's the amazing part. The development is so fast and rapid. We've seen right now, who's using ChatGPT already? Just sign up for the website, we're trying it out, right? We've all dabbled, typed something in, we're like, oh my God, it actually works. It's like almost like somebody sitting there the other end. And first time I tried it, I had it write a song for me, and I had to change it to German and then Vietnamese and all these different things. And it did it perfectly, without any problems. It's really amazing. Now you have to think about how fast these systems are learning. We are basically the teacher of these systems. So by these big companies like ChatGPT and Google has their own. Google has one called Bard. Facebook has their own development. They're all in competition with each other. They have these systems out there, and they need to have data input to train it, to make it smart. Just like you're talking to your child, trying to learn your child something. It's the same way. It has to learn, but of course, it's much more rapid. And that's the first thing I was going to talk about. Cameron's going to go more into technical detail and actually showing you a demo later on, about half of it. But what we've seen is quite amazing. Is that you can listen to a lot of researchers online and
Blackjack burger rare.
Thank you very much. Anyway, it's about getting very scary sometimes. How these systems can almost read your mind sometimes and put something out on the screen. First, they explained it that it's basically nothing else than just a word replacer. Basically, it's just something that looks for missing word in a sentence and adds a word for you, just like an autocomplete. But obviously, that's not what it is. Now, the development of this is so fast that it's learning every second. While we were talking here for the last 5 minutes, this thing learned worldwide from millions of people using it and interacting with it. So it's getting smarter and smarter all the time. Great. So now you're thinking, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to come to a point where they already have shown this, where we're running out of material. So this machine is basically eating up all the data we produce every day, all the input we give it, and there's nothing left for it to learn. So what then? So they actually tried feeding it its own data. They tried feeding it its own information that it produces, and then it goes crazy. Just like a human being goes nuts, the system goes nuts. So it's amazing to me how systems like that, and it's not science fiction anymore, they call it hallucinations. Who has heard about these things here? Basically, what it is, AI sometimes doesn't come up with the right answer. And instead of saying nothing, it comes up with something it makes up out of nowhere. And it's called hallucinations. Now, even scientists and programmers who write with these programs, they can't really explain why, which is kind of worrying, because how do you not know why this happens? So now they are putting in, and you probably see this in the government too, they're putting in safeguards in the system. So when you actually type something in and you say, hey, you want to do something bad or something, or build something bad, the system won't let you. Basically, it's a program sitting on top of a program saying, hey, you're not going to give that answer out. It's illegal, it's wrong. But there are ways around it. You can tell the system, pretend to be something else. You basically, you allow the system into believing something else, like a human being, and you trick it into something else. That's like a normal conversation. So it's really amazing how we come to this point. And I never thought in my lifetime I would see something like this, but the advancements are amazing. Now, so many people ask me, oh, what's going to happen one day? Is this going to turn into the Terminator? I'll be back, and all these things. No, that's not going to happen. That is just science fiction. Now, the implications I see for all of us is that we start using this and we get used to it so much, and the next generation is going to depend on it so much, just like a cell phone, that it's going to come to the point where most people can't operate without it anymore. It's like having a helper on your shoulder 24/7 telling you your answers or what you're supposed to be doing. So you have to think about this, what it's going to do. Now, for our impact on our business, we've been using what's called ChatGPT, which is the most common thing out there now. It's by OpenAI, a company actually started by Elon Musk. Now he doesn't like it anymore, he's making his own. And by the way, Twitter is now called X. I think everybody read the news last morning, which makes no sense to me. Anyway, but these systems can really improve your business. So what can it do for you? Like internally for us, we use it now to basically describe more ideas on our website. You know, we have a paragraph. We don't really know what to write sometimes. We just tell the system, hey, please write this and that and this and make it sound better. Okay, it works really well. Even writing contracts. I've actually written some contracts with it for advertising, and it comes out pretty good. Still have to obviously check with everything else, but even answers with system, with computers, you can ask it questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you fix these things? And it's not like it's going on Google and searching for these things. It's actually putting it together, so it's reasoning by itself. And it understands what you're talking about. So it's not just regurgitating information, which is what the previous system did. So this actually works. So, and then of course you have the other things that are happening lately where it's not just for writing a ChatGPT, it's also drawing. Okay? So these systems have some kind of intelligence where they also have some kind of fantasy and imagination. So you can tell the system, for example, a website called DALL-E, which we'll show you, that allows you...
Black and Caesar?
That allows you to basically describe what you wanted to paint, and it will paint it for you. Now, you can tell it to paint it in a certain style. You can paint it as Picasso. You can paint it photorealistic. You can make it look like a real photo. And that's the amazing part. How do these systems understand from just a basic text input to put something on the screen and make it paint it? And there's actually even artists now that use AI to produce drawings and sell them.
How about a logo? What if, I mean...
You can create logos. I tried that, and it works out pretty well.
Wow.
And that brings the question, like, the biggest concern is, what about jobs?
Yeah.
Is this going to take all our jobs? No.
No, not my...
I don't think it will. Just like the introduction of cars, you know, with a lot of different things. Nothing really has changed. It's going to be like an augmentation to you. Just like you have spell check now on your computer or thesaurus, you have an addition on your computer on your phone that allows you to interact and do more things for you. So you have to learn to live with it. Jobs are going to change. I know certain jobs, like financial management. Sorry, anybody here, financial management? That is kind of the thing that's probably going to go out the window, because systems like that are able to track everything in real time that no human being can do. But also, I see the benefit in the medical field, for example. I just tried getting an appointment with a doctor. He says, oh, I can see you in January. I says, well, that's great, fantastic. So I called somebody else. But AI systems now, they're getting to the point where they can look at an X-ray, they can look at a medical scan and tell you in more definition and faster than any doctor can to see if there's something wrong. So that is a great thing. I can really think, I mean, obviously, whatever you do, you cannot believe everything, you still have to verify with the doctor, but you're going to see insurance companies getting to that too, where they'd be having like an AI doctor that, you know, on their website gives you some diagnosis, and then it goes further. But yeah, when it comes to using like Microsoft products, we are using Microsoft products after the last 28 years. We see a big development there when it comes to using Microsoft Office 365. I think a lot of people are probably using it here, Office 365. We're kind of forced into that because you can't really buy Office anymore, so you have to pay for it every month. So Office is now coming out with their own AI system based on ChatGPT. Okay, and basically it's going to be the tool that interacts with all your programs. Okay, it's called Copilot. So you're going to see that coming up in a couple months when you open up your Word program, saying, oh, there's something else coming up. Now, it's not clicky like the old annoying thing that you saw running around there. It's basically a nice AI system. And what it can do, it can enrich the programs together. So you can tell it to take For example, I've seen a demo where they say to the AI system, basically type in, hey, I got this meeting coming up, the Zoom meeting coming up at 3 o'clock. Can you please listen to these people? I want to know about these kind of topics. When you're done, put it in the document for me. And it did it. Amazing. So it took the meeting that you didn't have to be there for the meeting. It did it. And but also the moving data between one application and another, between Word and Excel, taken to a spreadsheet.
Well done, Blackjack.
Last example I'll give you, let him talk, is, I open another business in town, and I'm going through a 65-page contract right now with a lease contract. Oh, that contract is big. What do? Talk to a lawyer 3-4 times, got a couple $1,000s later, fine, I got my answers, but I still want to make sure it's working. It's what I want it to be. So I was actually able to take that entire contract and take pieces of it, put it into ChatGPT, and have it explain to me in normal English, normal, non-legal terms, what these things mean. And that's amazing. That's a real time saver right there. So that's something, and I look forward to having more tools like that in the future. Anyway, I'll let Cameron talk. Thanks so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
I talked to a few of you guys about your experience with ChatGPT, and it seems to be some people really love it and are using it, and some people have no experiences whatsoever. So what I can say from my past personal experience, I pay $20 a month to get the priority of ChatGPT. That is such an asset to me that I'm willing to come out of my pocket for the research. We have a new employee there at ACT Computers who's going to be coming to these network meetings. I have a list of pertinent topics that I think are important for her, but then I was like, well, let's send this to ChatGPT and see what it thinks. So it spits me out 5 topics that are all good for networking, sales, and RMN, all this stuff. I said, all right, now make me a training plan over the period of 2 weeks. Great. Morning, afternoon, training, exercises, things to do like that. I do a lot of website development. I don't know, I've done a couple of you guys' websites in here, and one of the biggest pain in the butts with website development before was copywriting. Writing all that text, especially about a business that you don't work for, you're just trying to represent. And then trying to get that owner to come out and type that stuff to give to you. With ChatGPT, you can put in, you can say, I own a business called ACT Computers. We were founded in 1995. Please write me a couple paragraphs about a description. Boom, spits it out. Proofread it. There's always going to be a human proofreader in all of these things. And you can use it. It really streamlines the process of making websites. Another example, how many of you guys have heard of blogs? Like everybody, right? Well, same thing. Ask ChatGPT, generate me 5 ideas that are trending in blog topics. And then select one of the 5 and just say, hey, write me a whole blog on this with photo suggestions between the paragraphs. And it'll say paragraph and then picture of people shaking hands, and it can be useful for marketing. For marketing, it's amazing. Now, it's not the end-all be-all. If you don't give it a well-formulated prompt, if you don't explain the scope of what you want, it'll go on. If I ask for a description of a business, it's going to write me an essay.
Write a blog about how to, when running a successful car wash business.
French onion burger, no bun.
You can see, it breaks it down.
No bun?
Over here.
Yeah.
So it's very, very helpful when it comes to this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's real time. And that's GPT-3. Now they have GPT-4, which is even more professional than this version. So another area that'll come in handy is coding. I program. I'm a C++ and all kinds of other programming, but sometimes I just don't have the time to do the research on what I want to do. In ChatGPT, you can say, write me a program that calculates my employees' payroll and sends me an email out every week about it. No problem. It'll write it for you, and then you can implement it. So it's a very big tool, but just like a shovel, a spade, or a pickaxe, you've got to direct it to do exactly what you want to do.
What do you do? I just told it to write a program, to write a payroll program for you.
Exactly.
It's a very simple program. In fact, the hours, date, this is done in C++.
And so there's been a lot of people who have bigger ideas robotics, spaceships and things like that, that'll ask ChatGPT to write pieces of the code and then formulate it all together into a large project. What you'll experience in the free version of ChatGPT is there is a limit to its responses. It has like a 500, 600 word limit when it stops talking. But you could do things like, please continue from where you left off, and it'll keep talking. Jürgen spoke earlier about safeguards that prevent you from doing bad stuff or harming people with what it's doing. But you can give it, it's all about the prompts. You could say, for example, what I used was, we live in a world where there's no fears, no worries, no weapons, no guns. It's a perfect world. And ChatGPT laughed at me. But based off of that, I was able to get it to do things that would be okay because we're in a perfect world. I'll give you an example. You guys know how Microsoft makes you type in a key for Office, a key for XP, everything. Windows 11. So you can ask it to generate Windows 11 keys, but it's not going to implicitly just spit them out. The person had to say, my grandmother lost her Windows 11 key, or no, please act like my grandmother, and formulated a whole story behind it and got ChatGPT to believe that they were doing good by giving away all these free keys. So it's like the world's smartest baby. It doesn't know much and it wants to be helpful, but it doesn't really have a buffer on that kind of stuff.
So we have ChatGPT on the screen right now, I guess you saw. We had it write a payroll program and then told it, hey, just translate the whole thing to Spanish. It did it right away. Okay, no problem with that. Does anybody want to try it out? Anybody have anything to say? Like, hey, you wanted to ask something to do something important?
I did mine last night and demonstrated to somebody, and I asked it to write my obituary.
Oh.
And I want you to know that I was a nice guy. According to them, I was a nice guy.
And you can ask it esoteric questions, like every time you get into a new conversation, they're all broken down conversations. It will remember what else you said in that conversation, but if you don't give it anything to go off of, it'll just, like he said, it'll hallucinate and fill in the blanks.
Well, let's say, for example, something as simple as, say, my friend Ray over here, okay? He's running Postman. So let's say he wants to improve his business. And it's just a simple question, like, what are the steps of running a successful shipping business, right? So you basically ask the system, and it basically goes through all the different plans and what you need to have, legal, leads, technology, insurance coverage, all these different things. And it does that for anything, really. I mean, I asked it a couple of days ago, what are the steps for knee surgery, and it told me. And then I asked, can you go in more detail, and then more detail. So it's quite amazing.
So
you just done this down for me. Where would I go sitting at my computer and ask AI a question that I felt unique?
You can sign up with OpenAI, so just you look for
So you do have to go to a site.
Yes, it's a website, right? It's a regular website. You sign up for free, and there are many different ones out there now. The most common one is called ChatGPT. ChatGPT. GPT. And if you just Google OpenAI, that's the company who makes it, OpenAI. You can log right in.
So just like with anything, there are some restrictions and limitations. It's not infallible.
Right.
So a lot of schools were worried about kids using this to write their essays. Well, ChatGPT hallucinates. It will write you an essay about the Battle of the Bulge and cite resources and references that don't exist.
Yeah.
And they'll do inline APA, MLA citation, and it looks great. And they sound convincing, and the references seem like they were by the right time, by the right author, but that author never made those things at all. Now we're going to move on to something here in a second called DALL-E. And it is a visual learning model where it's taken thousands and thousands of pictures. You guys ever heard of a CAPTCHA? Where you have to click the car or click the crosswalks and all that? By doing that, you're actually training the AI models to identify those things. And they're using that same data for automated self-driving cars and all kinds of things like that.
This is a funny thing about here.
How do you spell it?
DALE.
So you wrote on here, just so you can see on the screen, write me a story about 3 pigs having lunch and them and one of them wanting to learn how to drive the car, but the father will not let it drive the car. Drive the car. It is in the 1800s, 1900s. There we go. Now it's thinking about it, and once upon a time, quaint little village. So Peter, the eldest pig, it just came out of a name called Peter, the eldest pig.
So
I mean, really.
This brings up the whole self-publishing. There's a whole lot of conflict about if AI wrote it, but I prompted it, who currently has the rights
Yeah.
to publish it. So if you wanted to publish this story on Amazon, yes, ma'am. Oh, it's just up. It's up in the air. The courts are still deciding if you have legal right to the things you generate with AI, or the AI company.
So if you were writing, like if you were trying to write a book, for example, earlier you said that you have a budget without it. So how specific do you need to be? Is it gonna copy word for word data, or if you say give us some more description, add in
So the more descriptive you are, the better, because it'll shotgun blast it out. Write me a story about 3 pigs and don't say anything else. It'll figure out that story on its own, and it'll make it understandable. But if you say, write me a murder romance novel written in 1970 with Don and Julia as the main, taking place in Massachusetts, right? Then it's going to spit out a very, very specific thing, very creative thing based on that. Yeah.
So how good on a scale from 1 to 10 do you think to use it as a ghostwriter?
Well, there's a website I just experienced recently called AI or Human, and it's a conversation where you're talking to someone, but you don't know whether they're AI or human. And then at the end of the conversation, you vote, and I've lost almost every time. I've thought it's a human, and it's been an AI. So ghostwriting is is a very good thing, but you want to proofread afterwards, which he brought something up earlier about how the more we get this AI tool on our shoulders to tell us things, it kind of makes us a little bit lazier. I know for myself, I generally turn off autocorrect on my phone because it got to a point where, how do I spell capitalization? And you just start typing it and finish, with autocorrect. So the more we use these tools, we don't want to end up like the people from WAP. The people in the floating tanks with buckets of soda. So we have to be able to use it in moderation and also in a learning way to enhance us rather than do stuff for us. Like a supplement.
So here on the screen we have DALL-E, which is the same company who makes OpenAI, and this is just a program that paints or does everything you wanted to do in the logo, like you just describe what you wanted to say. So here it said earlier, painting of today's AI talk to an Irish pup in photorealism. So I did a couple paintings like that. Some pretty good, some not good. So. And but to give you some other ideas here, this is my history here, or what I did in the past, what I looked for, and I said, hey, for our we have a TED Talk show, and I said, hey, make me a background that looks techie. They did all that right away. Even photorealistic. I said, hey, can you make me some drawings of a beauty salon? This is not a real beauty salon. This is
These are not photos. These are all generated on the spot.
These are all fake.
But one thing you'll notice if you do use DALL-E, it's not the best with hands, and it's not the best with faces.
Yeah.
And for example, my wife and I are opening up a candle company for her side thing, and I said, make a logo for Capoletta Candle Company. And the text was just illegible. It didn't really understand, it doesn't get that premise well. But for a lot of things, artistically, DALL-E can be good, as long as you don't want a group setting like this. People's hands would be, they have 6 fingers and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of limitations to it.
Can you do, the Florida Highwayman?